who really starts things off in an organization. Integrated thinking, integrated reporting, who takes the decision? Maybe it's a board decision, but how does everyone get together on it? Is it the CFO? We were wondering. Yes. Is he or she the one to serve as the catalyst? Well, there will be finer focus on this subject of integrated reporting and the virtues that accrue therefrom as we next hear from Professor Colin Higgins, the Associate Dean, International and Partnerships for the Faculty of Business and Law, and also Associate Professor in the Department of Management. For 6 years, Colin managed the Deakin MBA program.
Colin's research focuses on how business organizations use language in their social or environmental and sustainability reports, and how this shapes but is also constrained by institutional drivers in the environments where they operate. His scholarly work is published in journals such as Accounting, Auditing and Accountability, in the Journal of Business Ethics, and the Journal of Cleaner Production and Accounting Forum.
So, over to Colin Higgins.
I'm just going to turn it on again.
Very much. And thank you very much for the warm welcome this afternoon. It's a pleasure to be talking to you from Melbourne in Australia. And I'd like to extend a very warm acknowledgement of the distinguished guests joining us this afternoon. Thank you very much, Professor Watawala, for the kind invitation. And as always, it's inspiring to listen to the breadth of thought and breadth of experience that Professor Mervyn King is able to share with us as he works tirelessly to integrate, to think about the big issues around value creation, how organisations transition, how the standards, how the frameworks and how the guidelines need to operate, need to come about and need to be accepted and spread across the world in order to guide the very important activity, the very important changes that were introduced back in 1987 and by Gro Harlem Brundtland, and indeed earlier for those who are scholars of sustainability, scholars of the important issues of development and change that the world faces. I'd like to extend my congratulations to all of the finalists and the winners of the awards being presented this afternoon. You should be very proud of being placed amongst the best integrated reporters in Sri Lanka. And indeed, I'd also like to congratulate all of the entrants to the Excellence in Integrated Reporting Awards. You should all be congratulated for starting your own journey. And Professor King and others have referred to this idea of the journey. There is a lot of work to be done. Your commitment, your passion towards integrated reporting shows visionary leadership, and it stands as a testament to your commitment to good governance, good management, and modern and mature management practices. It demonstrates that shift in thinking, that shift in mindset that is so critical for business organizations to play that very important role in economic development, sustainability, and value creation. And I commend CMA's leadership in this area for operating, running these awards and this competition for the leaders in the Sri Lankan context. As was introduced to you, I have a role as an Associate Dean for International and Partnerships at the Deakin Business School, Deakin University in Australia. And we are proud sponsors of the Special Award for Integrated Thinking being presented this afternoon. Deakin University, as many of you will know, has a long commitment to Sri Lanka, and we're very proud of our relationship with CMA Sri Lanka. And I'd like to acknowledge my colleague who's on the panel this afternoon as well, Dr. Lakmika Pereira, for the vision that he's shown in fostering these types of relationships between the university here in Australia and the accounting bodies there in Sri Lanka. This is an important part of the global impact and another form of integration that Dr. King was talking about. It is through these types of exchanges that we all learn that we're all able to share those stories and those insights that help us to address some of those challenges going forward. Sponsoring the Special Award for Integrated Thinking is especially poignant for us. In 2019, Deakin University established the Deakin Integrated Reporting Centre, and indeed Professor King joined us at the launch of that in Melbourne, Australia. The centre is focused on 3 integrated pillars of activity: thought leadership and engagement, education and training, and research. And our aim in the centre is to advance thinking and to influence practice about better business reporting and assist and enable organisations to move along that journey towards integrated thinking, quality integrated reporting. For this reason, we've taken great interest in the awards being presented this afternoon. Our Integrated Reporting Centre is supported by KPMG, the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, or ACCA, and the Chartered Accountants Association of Australia and New Zealand. And that means that we're able to leverage and integrate the professional, the practitioner, and the academic breadth of integrated reporting. Another defining characteristic of the Deakin Integrated Reporting Centre is that it is interdisciplinary. Indeed, as well as being an Associate Dean in the Faculty of Business and Law at Deakin, I'm a Professor in the Management Department. And I bring to the Integrated Reporting Centre insights about management thinking, management theories, management approaches to the integration that needs to go through that value creation and the transition in thinking about the Chief Value Officer and the CFO. Professor King is absolutely spot on and absolutely correct when he prophesized that the most important person in an organization is that person taking on that Chief Value Officer role. This is no longer an accounting activity. This is an accounting activity. It's a management activity. It's a governance activity, and it goes right to the heart of the operations of the organization. Managers must think differently about strategy, governance, reporting in order to drive and build good organizations. Our centre is one of the first and only of its kind in the world, and Deakin University is one of the only a small number of universities around the world that produces its own integrated report. We are able, of course, to draw on that experience in the work that we do. Against this background, as a professor of management at the Deakin Business School, I've been studying and publishing about integrated reporting for nearly 10 years now. My first study was published in 2014, and it was on the early adopters of integrated reporting in Australia who were experimenting with this new framework, confronting those very issues that Professor King introduced back in 2011 and 2012 as this new framework entered the boardrooms in corporate Australia. And I want to just share a couple of insights that the work that I've produced has unraveled or uncovered about integrated reporting and integrated thinking. And I want to share some observations, particularly from the preparer's perspective. The studies that I've published have explored the enablers and the barriers for how organisations adopt integrated reporting, the needs and perspective of the users of integrated reports, thoughts about the necessity and desirability of regulation and standards, relationships between different organisational processes, particularly the materiality process and the risk process in organisations. And many of you participating in today's events will be involved in roles in organisations where those sorts of existing processes operate in organisations, and they're quite entrenched. There are different disciplines associated with risk, different disciplines associated with materiality, different pressures for shaping the strategy and the agenda within organisations. And currently, and most recently, my work is looking at that integration of the wide variety of standards, frameworks, and requirements that organisations face in the reporting landscape. And certainly Professor King alluded to that continuing challenge of integration of these different frameworks. There's a lot of work to do as a profession in the field to assist and support reporters to navigate that very complex environment. Many of you will know, sitting there in the audience, of the enormous pressure that business organisations face to adopt and to comply with the latest framework, whether it's the TCFD, whether it's around modern slavery, whether it's continuing to use the GRI when it involves a very large amount of resource to collect that data, to produce that data, to clean that data, and to find that data. There is a big challenge going forward to ensure that the investments that organisations make in these reporting processes do continue to add value to organisations. Another big challenge that we need to face going forward at an organisational level is unpacking that relationship between integrated reporting and integrated thinking. And I'll leave you with a question to ponder throughout the rest of the presentations this afternoon. And that is, what is the purpose? What is the end goal of what we're trying to achieve in our organisations? Is it better reporting, or is it better organisations? And how, as practitioners, how as reporting organisations we approach that question has big implications for how we think about the processes and the activities of putting together a good quality integrated report that meets its objectives. Some of the leaders are making big structural changes to their organisations because of the type of integrated thinking that their reporting processes have started to stimulate. Others have started to think more from a communications perspective, from a disclosure perspective, some of those very, very important issues that Professor Watawala introduced around accountability and around transparency. That the main problem, or the main issue that an organisation is attempting to address, is that better reporting, better communication with stakeholders. We also need to think a little bit more clearly at a field level, and certainly I'm encouraged by a lot of what I hear from Professor King, and also the engagement of the types of organisations present here this afternoon, from the Stock Exchange, from IFAC, from the Securities and Exchange Commission, from the International Federation of Accountants, the Central Bank, and so on. We do need to think quite differently about the desirability of constantly introducing new frameworks, constantly introducing new standards, constantly introducing new types of bodies. At the coalface, at the practitioner level, this detracts from our ability to advance the objectives of integrated reporting. We do need to do more work at thinking about that point of integration. And we need to support reporting managers. We need the reporting managers at the coalface we need to support them in raising these issues and putting these agendas on the boardroom table, engaging their senior managers to enable the resources that do good reporting that will lead to the types of outcomes of sustainability, of economic growth and value creation for stakeholders that integrated reporting promises. I'm very optimistic about what I've seen. I'm very encouraged by the lineup of speakers that are presenting to you this afternoon, those key insights about value creation around the integration of the capitals, the very, very critical challenge of apprehending and making sense of non-financial drivers of organisation performance, and so on. Your commitment and your involvement speaks to leadership. And that's what this boils down to. Congratulations to all of you. Congratulations to CMA. And congratulations again to the finalists and the award winners this afternoon, who are putting their necks out and being heroic in this quest towards improving the reporting of their business organisations. Thank you again, and good afternoon.